Welcome into the On3 studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. It is Thursday. Yes, the Inside Scoop airs today, but it is also opening day. Congrats to all who celebrate. Lots of hope, lots of excitement today. It is March 28th. We got something special coming to this channel on April 1st, but we will talk about that later. Right now, I want to take a look at the current top 10 rankings for the 2025 class before we get into everything. All right, here's what it looks like. Ohio State has moved into the top spot. LSU at number 2 right now. USC sitting there at number 3. What a week. Started on Sunday morning with one commitment and sitting beyond the top 50. They had 4 commitments and are now sitting at number 3. Just an amazing run by USC. Clemson in there at number 4. Sneaky 2025 class for them so far. Notre Dame at 5. Bama 6. FSU 7. Auburn at 8. Oregon and Texas round out the top 10. And then there's 2 teams right outside the top 10 that are trying to get in. That's Georgia and Tennessee. All right, massive show today. What a weekend for recruiting. Today we are going to talk Ohio State after they lose a wide receiver commitment. Where do they go from here? I'm sure Brian Hartline's got an idea. We're going to check in with Matt Parker. We also got Shay Dixon on to talk top recruits trending to LSU. Then Jeffrey Lee from Auburn Live jumps in to break down the Tigers QB board after another visit from 5-star quarterback Julian Lewis. All right, let's get to it. The Buckeyes suffered a big decommitment at the wide receiver position, but don't worry. Brian Hartline has a loaded recruiting board. We're going to take a deeper look at the wide receiver position. I got Matt Parker, Ohio State insider, on to talk about it all. Also, 5-star offensive tackle David Sanders will be in Columbus this weekend. Is Ohio State a true contender? Buckeye fans, lock in, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. All right, let's bring on Matt Parker from Letterman Row. And like I said, Ohio State lost a wide receiver commit from Javen Boggs. Second commitment in the 2025 cycle, only behind Tavian St. Clair. Is this a big loss for Ohio State?
I mean, yes, but also we'll see what happens. If there was going to be a decommitment, this is the position for that to happen, just given Ohio State's track record. I say it is a big loss just because I don't think the rankings accurately reflect maybe how talented Javen Boggs really is. And that's not a shot at our guys, Charles Power and Cody Belair, but it's more so this 2025 wide receiver cycle is ridiculously talented and guys got to be put somewhere. Javen Boggs reminds Ohio State a lot of Jackson Smith and Jigba, which kind of should tell you everything that you really need to know. But also, Josh, Ohio State is making plays for wide receivers that are really high up there in the rankings. I mean, the Buckeyes have hosted DeCorian Moore, Khalil Lockett, Jamie French, and Vernal Brown this upcoming weekend. There's a lot going on with Ohio State in its wide receiver room.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you introduced that wide receiver board to us. Let's start at the top here with DeCorian Moore. Now, he's committed to LSU, but there's starting to be some rumors surrounding his recruitment and the Ohio State Buckeyes. What's your read on DeCorian Moore, and is this more of a long-term play here?
I think it absolutely is the long-term kind of play here, Josh. I mean, you saw that he came out with, I call it a soft top 4. When he came out with that list a few weeks back about the 4 schools that he was really focusing in on, and one of them was Ohio State. And then the 5-star plus wide receiver out of Duncanville, Texas, shows up at Ohio State on March 18th. He's there for Buckeyes' first practice after their spring break. Really got to see the sights and sound of Columbus. And Ohio State has always kind of been in the background there, but Ohio State with Brian Hartline and DeCorian Moore, that's a relationship that has really taken off in these last 6 weeks, Josh. And I think if we can see an official visit get scheduled here for DeCorian Moore and Ohio State in June, don't count out Ohio State for DeCorian Moore for sure.
Right. Let's stay in the state of Texas with another 5-star wide receiver, Khalil Lockett. This recruitment is way more wide open. How do you view Ohio State's position with Lockett, and who are the main contenders in your opinion?
I think the main contenders, it's got to be Texas and USC, right? I saw that he's had a couple of conversations. I saw he was on Duke the Scoop show a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago, whenever that was, saying that he already has official visits locked in for Texas and USC and doesn't have OVs locked in for anywhere else. That to me is a little bit telling, reading the tea leaves and things like that. But what I do know is Ohio State really inserted itself in the race for Khalil Lockett, the number 2 wide receiver, according to On3 in the 2025 cycle. And me personally, he is my favorite wide receiver in this 2025 cycle. You throw on the tape, and there's some similar movements to Garrett Wilson watching his tape. So it's certainly one that Ohio State would love to get. They're working to get. Next is we just got to see if and when that official visit to Ohio State gets locked in, if you will.
If you will. I will. All right. Let's move down the list to a pair of Florida wide receivers in Jamie French and Vernell Brown III. Jamie French, we talk about all the time on this channel, and until further notice, Ohio State is the team to beat. Vernell Brown, though, he's a Florida legacy, but he seems to be trending in Ohio State's direction. What are the Buckeyes doing right with Vernell Brown right now?
I think it's just the relationship aspect of it, Josh. I mean, you look at, again, so much when you and I talk about Ohio State and wide receivers, we talk about what the Buckeyes have done in terms of development, what Brian Hartline has done with guys from all over the place in rankings and sending them to the NFL. But the key thing here is relationships. Vernell Brown is a South Florida Express guy. Ohio State really can just see the South Florida Express roster and be like, okay, we want you, we want you, we want you. And they seem to end up in Columbus. I mean, you got Brandon Ennis, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith. Some folks would say that Mylan Graham is an SFE kid, even though he only played for like 2 games for SFE. But it's really the relationship aspect. And that's why Ohio State is really sitting in a good position right now for Vernell Brown.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that one. Now, the big visit of the upcoming week is number 1 offensive tackle David Sanders. He's visiting this weekend per Steve Wiltfong. What's the latest on where the Buckeyes stand? And do you believe that after this visit, we'll be talking about Ohio State is a legit contender for the number 1 offensive tackle?
Absolutely, Josh. I mean, this visit and David Sanders, he's hands down the most important visitor that's heading to Ohio State this spring. And the Buckeyes still have their spring game on the calendar. Right. To me, David Sanders is the one offensive piece that Ohio State needs to land in this recruiting cycle. Ohio State offensive tackle commit Carter Lowe is going to be on campus this weekend, kind of do some peer recruiting there. Tavian St. Clair, the Buckeyes 2025 quarterback, is also going to be on campus this weekend, have some peer recruiting on both sides there. It needs to go well for Ohio State, simply to just put it simply, Josh. I mean, you look at Sanders' top 6 of Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, Alabama. I think South Carolina is on there. Tennessee is on there as well. Ohio State is the outlier. All of those schools, other than the Buckeyes, they're in the South. Distance is going to be a factor if Ohio State is going to be that contender. And Ryan Day, offensive line coach Justin Fry, Carter Lowe, Tavian St. Clair, and just about everybody in the building this weekend needs to show a reason why Ohio State can be and should be the place for David Sanders. Now, the big thing here, Josh, is that David Sanders already has his Ohio State official visit scheduled. Mm-hmm. That's the last weekend of June. And now I know, typically anymore, you would see the last weekend in June right before that July dead period. That's the visit that you want. But with these unlimited official visits these days, it's kind of a moot point. However, I get the sense that David Sanders really would want to end his recruitment before his senior season. And if that's the case, Ohio State getting that last official visit in the last weekend of June is massive.
Yeah, and this is kind of the start of his recruitment to Ohio State. Not literally the start, but stepping on campus for this unofficial visit is huge. It's a must-get to have him on campus in the spring. Speaking of must-gets, on Saturday, linebacker TJ Alford, the number 8 linebacker in America, is going to be announcing his decision. He's down there at Vero Beach High School in Florida. Real quick, which way you leaning on this one, as we're about 2 or 3 days out from his decision?
I mean, if it's not Ohio State, I'll be pretty shocked. I've had a prediction in the On3 recruiting prediction machine for a while now. The way that this has been trending, really since about late November of 2023, Ohio State has really just put itself in the driver's seat for TJ Alford. He was on campus last weekend. He's committing this weekend. You read the tea leaves there, Josh, and if things go how they are looking to go, TJ Alford's going to be an Ohio State Buckeye by the end of Saturday night.
Yeah, he's going to commit there. But remember, the Ohio State Buckeyes are going head to head against the Miami Hurricanes. And we've seen how some of these recruitments end up in December, in January. So we'll see if Ohio State can hold on to him. But I agree with you. I do think that TJ Alford's going to commit to Ohio State on Saturday. So keep an eye out for that. Letterman Row, that's where you guys want to go for all your recruiting needs. It's a huge weekend for Ohio State recruiting. Go check it out. Matt Parker, appreciate you dropping by the Inside Scoop today.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
Another top 150 prospect trending to LSU, but he's not the only one. We're going to talk LSU recruiting with insider Shea Dixon. We're going to find out who could be the next to commit to the Tigers. LSU fans, though, before we get started, remember to hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. All right, let's bring on Shea Dixon from the Bengal Tiger. We got some big names on campus here. Most of these guys have already come and gone, except for running back James Simon. He was supposed to come in for like a 1 or 2 day visit, but how did this end up being an extended trip? And is that a good sign for the Tigers?
I think it's a great sign. Look, James Simon is a Louisiana native running back, but top 10 running back nationally. And they have a running back committed right now in Harlem Berry out of New Orleans, the #1 running back in the country. Frank Wilson, LSU's running backs coach, one of the best recruiters in America, has circled James Simon out of Calvary Baptist as that 1-2 punch with Harlem Berry from the start. So right now, Josh, Harlem has trips scheduled to Bama all the way to Miami. That's going to, I think it's 6 stops across a month. LSU being his first. He told me he decided to stay an extra day before going to Alabama. So we're talking here on a Tuesday. He's hanging out around LSU's pro day until that wraps up. So he got to see an LSU practice, hang out with the coaches, hang out with the recruits, and then gets to see all 32 NFL teams in Baton Rouge today, watching the guys at pro day. LSU's hoping that he would shut things down before he makes all those trips. But that ball's obviously going to be in Simon's court. We'll see what he says whenever he leaves campus. But Josh, my European pick, still on LSU at a high confidence rate level, I should say. I feel good about the Tigers landing him.
All right. Speaking of feeling good with somebody that the Tigers could land, offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, Carius Kern, top 150 prospect from Marion, Arkansas, just backed off his commitment from Arkansas. And as soon as he did, you and Billy Embody over there at the Bengal Tiger dropped your recruiting prediction for the Tigers. Carius Kern, could he be the next to commit to the Tigers?
I think he's on the watch list for sure. He could be the next one to pop. Look, when a kid like that from Marion who doesn't take a lot of visits, he's an in-state kid for Arkansas, the top prospect in the state. No matter where you look, he's highly ranked by all the recruiting services as a consensus top 100 player, one that a lot of people are very, very high on as a top player coming out of Arkansas. And he committed to the Razorbacks about, I guess, at the beginning of February. So going on 2 months now, he had been committed to the Razorbacks. Right. LSU gets him to campus once. They got him to campus this past weekend for a visit. He got to watch practice, hang out with O-line coach Brad Davis, who's been absolutely on fire. He's landed 3 commitments on the O-line. 2 are top 100 prospects on 3. One of them, the most recently Tyler Miller, coming out of Mississippi, is the #1 interior offensive lineman in America. So LSU's talked a lot, Josh, about border states, right? Like recruit Louisiana, then recruit Texas, Mississippi, and Arkansas. Tyler Miller's from Mississippi. Now you move over into Arkansas, and Carius Kern, fresh off of his LSU visit, announces he's no longer committed to Arkansas, reopening his process. And this isn't one of these 5-star receivers who's got, 45 visits lined up. He's been very mum about his process. He hasn't taken a lot of visits. So I think for him to see LSU and immediately decommit from Arkansas is a good sign for LSU. And boy, Brad Davis stays hot on the recruiting trail, is arguably the best O-line recruiter out there right now.
Yeah, well, he's got to start landing some of these guys. But offensive lineman Micah DeBose, I put kind of him in that same category, right? It looks, all signs point to him ending up at LSU, but so far he hasn't pulled the trigger either. Who do you think the Tigers are in better shape with right now, Carius Kern or Micah DeBose?
Look, I think Kern is probably the one you move ahead of DeBose on the wish list, on the next to commit, however you want to put it, Josh, and think about it. I mentioned that they already have 3 commits on the O-line, 2 being top 100 guys. You get Carius Kern, you've got 4 guys committed. You've got 3 guys ranked as top 100 players. And how many do you take? Do you take 5? Yes. Do you take 6? Maybe. And there's a lot of names still out there. Lamont Rogers, Solomon Thomas, who visited from an FSU commit who was in town this past weekend. And I could name more. Mario Nash in Mississippi, they recently offered. So I had DeBose as a guy I thought no matter what would be into the class when they were on 2 commitments. If they keep
Right.
stacking them up and he keeps waiting, what does that mean for Micah DeBose? I don't know. So if I'm LSU, I'm picking the best of the best right now. And I think we would see, in my opinion, a guy like Curious Kern say, hey, they're filling up. I'm going to grab my spot. Does Micah DeBose do the same? That's the question a lot of people are wondering right now.
So if you look at this list, James Simon, Carius Kern, and Micah DeBose are all trending heavily to LSU right now. But you scroll a little bit further, Fahim Delaney and Anquan Fagans, both top safety prospects, one from Maryland, one from Alabama, respectively. Did LSU make up ground on these two? Both of them have been on campus in the last 5 days. How are things going with Delaney and then Fagans?
Yeah, I think trending up for both because, as both of them put it from talking to them, this was their first chance to get real extended time with the new defensive staff. For people, non LSU fans that might not know, Brian Kelly, after LSU finishes outside the top 100 in defense, but with the number 1 offense in college football, fired every defensive staffer, on field coach, and hired all new ones. So Corey Raymond, one of the architects of DBU here at LSU, is back as the secondary coach after a very brief stint at Florida with the Gators. And then Jake Olson is the safeties coach who Blake Baker, the DC, brought down from Missouri. He's worked at 4 Louisiana colleges before, a young guy. So they're building relationships with them. And that's what Fahim said. It was, hey, look, I've gotten to know Corey more now. I knew a lot about him from afar. Now that he's at LSU, I'm starting to build on that relationship. So would you be confident enough to say, Shay, are they the leaders for either of them? I don't know about that, but neither seem to be in a rush to make a decision right now. I think LSU gets official visits from both. And at the end of the day, maybe you hope you come away with one of them. Geographically speaking, Josh, an Alabama kid probably sounds more likely than a kid from Maryland. But Fahim told me this was, I think, his 4th or 5th visit to LSU, and they've got a new defensive staff now. Ohio State is the team to beat on the On3 RPM. But if you're looking for a school that's in the SEC or outside of kind of that Maryland, Ohio State, Northeast region, LSU is the one to watch right now.
All right, Shay, that's the big news coming out of last weekend and into this week. LSU fans, how are we feeling? How do you think this class is going to shape up? Who do you think the next commit could be? And do you think one or both of these safeties could end up at LSU? Talk to me. Comment section below. Appreciate it. See you, Shay.
See you, Josh.
We're talking Auburn recruiting in this one. The Tigers, they have a few major targets coming off the board soon, including Cali quarterback Hussein Longstreet. I got Jeffrey Lee from Auburn live in this video, and we're going to cover it all. But first, Auburn fans, lock in, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. All right, let's bring in Jeffrey Lee. And before we get to Longstreet, let's talk about a high-priority running back that was on campus recently, Alvin Henderson. And Henderson has a commitment date set for April 5th. Auburn leading heavily on the recruiting prediction machine. Can they close? And are there any teams down the stretch that Auburn fans need to be aware of?
Well, finally, I know Auburn fans have been tracking this kid for, the better part of 2 years. He's been a top target especially for Hugh Freeze and Derek Nix since they got on campus. Carnell Williams at first was the running backs coach, and then Derek Nix, came in January and reprioritized Alvin Henderson. They've been able to get him on campus a couple of times, including a little surprise visit on Tuesday. And that was when he told us after the visit that he has set his decision date for April the 5th. That's the Friday, the day before Auburn's spring game. And he had already disclosed plans to be at Auburn's spring game. So you got to feel pretty decent if you're Auburn fans and you want this kid and you're reading the tea leaves. And it feels like his recruitment is coming to a close, at least for now. And I still like where Auburn stands going into that commitment date.
All right. Now, much anticipated visit happened over the weekend. That was quarterback Hussein Longstreet from California. Now, he was the very first Elite 11 invite. He was out on the plains over the weekend. Jeff, what are your sources saying about Longstreet's trip to Auburn?
Big move by Auburn. They feel really good about how the visit went. They felt really good about his reaction, his family's response to that visit, how it might affect his recruitment. They they understand that he's got a commitment date coming up, and these quarterbacks, unlike some of the other positions, they pretty much lock in. Now, obviously, we'll talk about JuJu Lewis, who's committed to SC and taking some visits, but typically these are quarterbacks shut down their recruitments after they commit. So time's a ticking for Husan Longstreet and Auburn. They were able to get him on campus. Obviously, Texas A&M is still presumably the team to beat, and I think Auburn feels that way as well. I think the plan for Husan, if Auburn can get him back, he hinted at maybe returning again before the April 14th commitment date, would be that spring game on April the 6th. So if Auburn was able to get him back on campus, that would be a very, very good sign. I think it would make them feel a lot better, although they do feel pretty dang good after this past visit.
Yeah, like you said, he's going to take a trip to A&M. He's going to visit Ole Miss, and he's going to visit Oregon. Then he's going to make that decision April 14th. How important do you think that pending visit is to Auburn for him to return once again? How important is it for the Tigers that they get him back on campus? It's tourney time, and I don't want you to miss any of the action for March Madness, so here's what we're going to do to watch all the games. Prime Video is streaming every tournament game live with a subscription to either Paramount or Max, and lots of these games are on while we're at work. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to log on, sneak in these games while you're on the clock, and Prime Video has you covered. Watch every game live on your phone, on your laptop, or relax and watch it at home on Prime Video with a subscription. It's March. It's madness, and you can stream it all on Prime Video.
I don't know that it's imperative, but I think it would be a really good sign. I think Auburn would feel much better going into that decision, having him on campus twice, and especially the week before his decision date, than just getting him in for this past weekend's visit. Like I said, I don't think it's, make or break. If he doesn't show, I don't think Auburn's completely out of it and they're tossing in their hand. But I do feel like that would maybe swing the pendulum a little bit more towards Auburn than if he doesn't show.
Okay, so JuJu Lewis back on campus. How does JuJu Lewis's recruitment to Auburn impact Husan Longstreet's recruitment to Auburn, or does it?
I don't know that it impacts either or. I do feel like those are the top two quarterbacks on. I think that's, I think that's apparent. I don't know in what order. Like I said on our message board, I think it's 1A and 1B, and flip a coin to who's 1A. I do feel like Auburn really likes Longstreet. I think they like his fit, his personality, his on the field skills, and how it fits that offense. Husan and JuJu are probably a little similar, when it comes to their talents, and they're very highly coveted. And Auburn would take either one, I would imagine. And so I think they're putting all their cards in on these two, and hoping to get one of them. And JuJu Lewis keeps coming back. He's been to Auburn now 2 times in the past 10 days.
Right.
A little surprise visit on Tuesday when he came out and watched practice, and they got to meet with Coach Freeze. Got to meet again with Derek Nix and Kent Austin. And I felt, that was a couple of days after Husan Longstreet had come in and said some good things. So I think Auburn's got 2 really good targets, and I feel like they're in a position, or they at least feel like they're in a position to get one of them.
Inside Scoop fans, listen up. College football, the season's wrapped. That means it's time to get out and enjoy other things. I know it's all about college football, but there are other events to attend. I'm here in Nashville. Last week, I decided to go to a hockey game. But guess what? The tickets were sold out. That can be a problem for some people. Finding tickets before a game can be an absolute nightmare, but do not let this be the way your 2024 goes. That's why I'm here to tell you all about Game Time. It's a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the big-time matchups. Game Time app is great, easy to use, and it works in any city, any team, and you get the best price guarantee. So don't stress over getting into your favorite team's games anymore. There's only so many big games each year, and you need to get these tickets at the best prices. In Game Time, that's where it is the place to be for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Game Time is obsessed with finding ways to help you save money, like zone deals. This is where you pick a section and Game Time picks the seats. for big savings. So here's what we're going to do. Snag the tickets without stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code INSIDESCOOP for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code INSIDESCOOP for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Well, we'll see what happens. The last time we talked about Julian Lewis coming off that first visit to Auburn, you and I kind of both felt that Auburn was on the outside looking in of this JuJu Lewis recruitment. But with this surprise visit on Tuesday, do you think there's a little bit more traction to this recruitment than maybe we were giving it a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, Josh, I'm not overboard on that yet. I'm still kind of, I'll believe it when I see it. I feel like Auburn has a better shot with Husan Longstreet, the kid out of California, than the kid who's, an hour up the road. But, JuJu coming back on Tuesday really kind of made me go, maybe they're not as far out on the outside looking in as we thought, and especially me. But I do feel like Husan Longstreet is probably the one to watch for the foreseeable future.
Okay. All right. Auburn fans, tap in. Talk to me. Comment section below. Who do you think Auburn's top target at quarterback is? Who do you think they end up signing? Let me know. Comment section below. Jeffrey Lee, you guys have a ton going on over there at Auburn Live. I suggest everybody go check it out. Football, recruiting, you got it. It's on Auburn Live. Appreciate you stopping by today on the Inside Scoop.
Absolutely, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed that, go check out the hundreds of videos that we have on this channel, and also do me a favor, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel.